next speaker is one of the two Franks we have. It's Frank Du from Sungrow. He's actually from Sungrow Europe, and he will talk about his view on the European market side of things, which is, I think that's also important to highlight, one of the few open markets still that we have globally. I think at least big markets that we have. And I think that's why we're also spending somewhat more time on Europe. Frank, the floor is yours. Yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael, for having me. I'm Frank, and I'm working with Sungrow Europe. And recently, my focus has been on Europe region, and I'm very happy to be here to share some of the insights about the European market, and as well as what we think as a corporate in the industry, what we will expect in 2025. So first thing, I would like to just echo some of the comments from Marius. Really amazing presentations, and it makes my life much easier for the second part. So you mentioned that secure of the revenue stream. That's definitely one of the key things that we've heard over and over in Europe, especially when the investors, customers come over. That's definitely one of the key things. And you mentioned about the PPA that's now more frequently traded in or agreed in Europe. That's true. But there are some still problems with the PPA setups, and especially as you mentioned earlier, there is price changes, the negative price that spikes. It is definitely caught a lot of attentions, and cause some uncertainties when we see the investors doing investment in Europe for the PV projects. And also that gives pressure to the PPA prices as well. I'm not sure if you probably have the charts somewhere about that as well. But yes, that's something that we do pay close attention to. Something very interesting. And also in America, you also mentioned quite a few topics about the One Beautiful Bill, something that we also very follow very closely to. But one thing that I will add on is that the Americas, it is more than just America. There are other regions. In the North America, there's Canada, there's Central America, Mexico, there is South America. So yeah, so from corporate perspective, America is a very important market, and we do follow up very closely. But also, I would say it is more than just America. There's other countries around, and they are all very important in terms of the PV deployments and their renewable, their energy transition targets as well. And one thing also that I would say most of the Chinese companies that we do see, there's another one is the tariff that has been ongoing with the Trump administration. It has been under the spotlight recently, especially. There are plannings around, and we basically, at least for Sungrow, we have a strategy to go tackle the issues, and for short terms, like bond warehouse and stuff like that, but also for longer terms, to trying to avoid the threat of any tariffs. So that's just something that I think very interesting from Marius' presentation. And now back to myself. So the first page, you can see the screen. It is on the Bloomberg's, essentially the Bloomberg's forecasting from their Q2 global PV outlook. Sorry, first, I can't use my own numbers. All my slides being cut by our PR department, because basically we combine the third-party data with our own information, and if I release the numbers from our internal, they're not happy about that, so I don't want to get into trouble. So I will have comments on the third-party data and see and basically express what my research has been talking about. The first thing you will notice probably is the 695 gigawatts this year. It's I think Bloomberg has the highest number across the whole I would say market intels, I think the Rystad's number is much smaller than that. I would say just mid 600, and I also have seen some numbers is like in the low 600s, so 610, 620. From our perspective, we think the number is even lower. We are more conservative in terms of development. However, different markets are different. They have different trends. That's something that I would like to share with you guys here in the graph. Is that I agree, China is definitely the key things due for 2025. Europe is going to be something more flattened. Not much of like a rapid increase comparing to what we've seen in 2023 and 2024. That huge growth for new capacity, the golden era for PV years. We don't really think that will continue for 2025 at least. So that's something that we're thinking from Sungrow's perspective. And in terms of the different scenarios, this is also from Bloomberg. I would just reference that. Bloomberg believes that in 2025, the market will be around 85 gigawatt DC. That's number. And also they have low scenario, high scenario, low to the 80, high to nearly 90 gigawatt DC. So when it comes to that, we again think the numbers are a little bit optimistic. We will, from our perspective, is slightly slower than that, especially when we did a review of H1 and see the deployments and also the general from official data, from third-party data, and from our own experience. We think that it may be a little bit slower than we expected. So this is something very interesting to notice. And also in terms of the segments, with residential, CNI, and utility, it's showing relatively different trends. Some of the major market like Germany, you can see that the residential is going down, whereas the utility really pick up the speed. CNI is somewhat growing, but not as fast as expected. And we think the reason behind is quite clear for Europe region. The residential is more because of the subsidy running out in some countries. That's one reason, and also the urgency of installing the residential PV or a residential PV plus ESS products is less urgent because the energy crisis is not as the sentiment that we've got is not as crucial as before, where in 2022, 2023, 2024, that electricity price went sky high. That's no longer the case. The price has already dropped down, and we just think that from the residential perspective, the trend will probably continue. And with the utility, though, that's another story. We see auctions going on. We see countries really pushing towards their the national energy and climate plans, and we do believe that the utility will pick up the volume, and in some countries like Germany, we'll definitely see the utilities getting even more weight than residential, which residential used to be their key drivers. So that's something that very interesting to see. CNI is definitely growing market, but there are a lot of uncertainties in terms of policies from different countries. So sometimes CNI projects are in a dilemma, and that's why we do believe that you can find business cases, especially with the price, the electricity price that the company is trying to save on it and on their energy bill. There are still cases, but it's just not growing as fast as we thought, especially comparing to the targets that we saw in 2022 and 2023 and 2024. So some of the key challenges that I would like to share with you from our experience. The key things, of course, everybody's talking about is the grid connections and the waiting time of the grid connections. I think that is subjects that we have to talk with our clients every single time, and we'll hear complaints about about the connection times, and that's where basically why we're more conservative in terms of the growth is because just the bottlenecks that we see when we're thinking about commission installed capacity. It's just not get there. Um, and also, what we've heard is that more than just the grid connections, the waiting time, the long queue, but also the transparency and the digitalization of the queue. So essentially, we've got feedback that when you are trying to do when you are going through the whole process, it's not transparent enough. It's not like, on the cell phones you can see when you are trying to buy a concert tickets, you'll see, oh, you are in queue and you are number 12 or number one or number 10,000. There's not much of visual that you can have access to, and sometimes it's a little bit frustrating. So that's one thing that we've heard. Permitting bottleneck is similar to the grid connections. When you're dealing with the government, sometimes it really takes a long time. Italy, for example, they do have a very backlog that they have to go through with to getting permits, and that's not really helping with the project deployment. And also, there are some other reasons, like constantly there is communities that's protesting in the local level, but there's nothing major. However, it does slow down some of the projects, and we yeah, and another thing that I would like to mention is the electricity price. As Marius mentioned in his slides as well, the price drop definitely caused some of the issues or concerns, at the very least. And when it comes to PPA price, it's really not helping with that. And when investors see these kind of negative prices and increase sharply, investors have concerns and they will do other plannings, which is my point four that I will talk about later. Another one, my third point is about the technology requirements that we've seen. It's actually benefits for Sungrow, but in general, if it's for the PV industry, it might not, which is the more requirement on the smart smart products, and also the hybrid products that we see more and more common in the government tenders and auditions. So the hybrid projects these days, we frequently will hear the options that comes with conditions that you have to pair with ESS. That's for the flexibility, which is not in our scope for this conversation today, but it is definitely one of the highlights that we see. And with the EMEA blackouts that happened in April, basically dragged everything back to the spotlight and about the safety of the PVs and lots of conversations going on there. Very it's great to have the Spanish government actually released a official statement about the cause of the blackouts and everything, and we are very happy that it's clear that it's not PV that caused the whole thing. So it's a relief from our side, but again, that is just to sort of spice up the conversations in that regards, and we definitely see more of the hybrid projects and also innovative PV projects, agriculture plus PV and floating PVs. That's quite trendy words that we see from the past two expos, like Intersona. That's one of the key things that we see. And for all these sort of innovative projects, it will have higher requirements for the supplier. at Sungrow, we obviously very ready and have demos and projects that can share with people. But just in general, it may cause other um, concerns for the PV industry. And the last but not the least, increasing popularity of ESS. It sounds very positive thing. Yes, for renewable energy industry, for us, it's very positive. But when you see it from a PV's perspective, it may not be. That's why I put this as a challenge, a key challenge for the PV in EMEA region, because when now as Michael mentioned, everybody's talking about battery, everybody's talking about ESS. So does investors, and so does every single engineers. So when you are sort of having ESS under the spotlight and everybody's building up business models, building like flush into the pipelines for the ESS, what will happen is that your resources also lean towards the ESS rather than continue to build up for the PV. So that is, it is from company perspective, we have relatively more resources than some of our competitors, so we can very balance it very nicely. However, for others, for example, investors, they may not have resources to build a lot of PV projects and ESS projects at the same time. So what will happen is they will shift from PV to ESS, and from the experience that we have, like some of the PV only developers, they have already shifted towards having more of the ESS projects, or at least for the inquiries about ESS projects in the recent, I would say in the last 2 years. You can definitely feel that companies, investors, they're very interested in the ESS. And that will cause less resources allocated to the PV, and could potentially be a bit harmful for the PV industry in the EMEA regions. And some of the country highlights that I would also like to share with people. I won't talk too much of each country because there are way too many, over 30 in EMEA region, and every single country are different. But some of the interesting ones that I would like to share, for example, Germany, I mentioned it earlier. Their dynamics has changed in the industry for PV. It used to be very, very residential driven. Now the residential has cooled down a little bit, and we see that utilities definitely picking up the speeds. But all in all, we see that it's a strong support, strong support from government. They have ambitious targets, even with their already very fast increase in the PV installation. They still need to speed up in order to complete their the NECP plan that they have already passed from their government. They also something very interesting to see is that the registration numbers. So Germany has one of the best transparency in terms of PV installations, and when we see the H1 numbers, it's just not as good. I mean, I urge you all to have a check of their website, but it is not as good as expected, and that is why that was the key reasons that we sort of being conservative in terms of the PV installations this year for the EU. And also, of course, lower electricity price and less urgency, I mentioned, so I'm not going to repeat myself. Spain and Portugal, I will talk, well, they're slightly different. Spain is very, 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 very heavy on the utility level of PVs. And in 2023, they extended deadlines for the production of project commissions. So the latest you can have is 2028, I believe. So with that, the developers will have more time to develop, and 2025 is no longer the cutoff line, and the previous expectations has been dropped since, and we will see Spain probably is flat, even a little bit decrease for this year, and also negative price again. That is happened in Spain as well. Portugal, 6% of VAT back to 23%. I believe it's already it's already taken into effective. And that means the reduced price is no longer, your cost is definitely getting higher, and people will have to really evaluate their project viability. And also all three countries have feedbacks about the delays on their projects, which I said was the first challenge. But that is not just these three countries. I would say majority of the countries that we've been dealing with have that sort of project delays by various regions. Either it's because of logistics or it's because of the permit issues or any kind of processing administrative issues. So I will for the very last part, I will just have a quick overview of Sungrow just in case people don't know who we are. Basically, we established in 1997, and now we have become one of the leaders in the PV industry. People may know us for our PV inverter products, but we actually do have ESS products as well. And the ESS business is actually one of the key business now for Sungrow Europe. In 2024, our shipment for PV inverters is 147 gigawatts, and our ESS shipment is 28 gigawatt hour. This is the global numbers. And so far we have installed over 740 gigawatts electric converters worldwide. So quite a lot of projects, and that's why earlier as I said, we have a little bit more resources compared to our competitors, and we can reach this nice balance between PV and ESS, and can basically serve our customers with the one-stop solutions, which is a very, very good, got very positive feedbacks from our clients. And our manufacturing capacities. So we currently have 270 gigawatts production capacities worldwide with 50 gigawatts overseas factories. We have two overseas factories, one in India and one in Thailand. So, of course, this is our commitment to the global supply chain. We are also explore different options as we speak, and definitely actively tracking any of the policy changes to make sure that we can be prepared for any sort of situations or scenarios that will happen in the future, and especially for the long run, we are looking for solutions. We are definitely in preparation for any future changes. For ESS side, we do have production of 75 gigawatt hour, and we also expanding that. So we have 35 is on the way. If you ever have a chance to come to our factory in Hefei, or any of the factory, especially the one in headquarters, which is in Hefei, China, please get in touch, and we can potentially arrange some sort of site visit. Sometimes our clients will travel to China, and we will always invite them over for a site visit, and they are very, very impressed by how digitalized and how modern our factories are. We have essentially 80% of digital coverage. Everything is all on the screen. It's a very nice, clean factory. So I actually have never been. I will probably do that next year. But from all the pictures and videos that I've seen, it's a very, very nice place to be. And next one, we also have focus on Europe. We have 750 local employees here in Europe. Our headquarters for Europe is in Munich, where we also have a research center. We have two research center, R&D center in Europe, one in Munich and one in Amsterdam. We have 26 local warehouses, so logistics. We've been here for nearly 10 years, and we basically can fulfill projects in everywhere that you can think of in the pan-European regions. And also our service, we do have service hubs across Europe as well, speaking different languages. Our SLA standard is 24 hours in China, 28 hours for Europe. Yeah. Oh, and one thing that I do want to mention is that we have three training centers or training academies here in Europe, one in Spain, one in Munich. I can't remember the last one, but I think this is something that we are very proud about ourselves, is to help the locals, the community, to basically polish their personal skills and also sort of increase the talent pool for ourselves as well. So it's a win-win situation. And we have some really good feedbacks from not just from the local community, but also from the local government as well. I think that's everything from me. Our slogan, Clean Power for All, and we are on our track to achieve net zero by 2048. And we are working with all the industry participants to achieve that targets. So yeah, thank you very much for having me today.
Thanks, Frank.